Some watches are good for the price, but this one actually shocked me. It's not Swiss, it's not expensive, and I wasn't expecting much more than just good. But from the finishing to the specs to the bracelet, this one's built different, and I'm going to explain why in detail. Now, for some context, I've handled many watches and many divers in the $300 to $500 range, and most of them are pretty decent. You know, good lume, nice specs, decent finishing, but nothing absolutely standout insane. But this one immediately stood out, and not because of marketing or me liking the design or one small little thing. No, just the whole package. It's because the moment I picked it up, it didn't feel like what the price tag would suggest in every category rather than just one. Now, like any watch, it does have some issues which I'll get onto later, but for now, let's start with the case, because that's the first thing that told me this wasn't your average diver. It is 40mm across, with a 46.5mm lug to lug, but it wears smaller thanks to the inner bezel and the 12.5mm thickness that really feels more like 11.5mm on wrist when you're excluding the crystal. But what blew me away wasn't the specs, it was the finishing. Now we are talking about radially brushed lugs, polished chamfers on both sides, a fixed bezel that transitions from brushed to polished in a just gorgeous way, and a concave recess with a sandblasted inlay, all framed beautifully by multiple levels of finishing. And it's not just the variety of finishing, it's how they're layered. It really adds a lot of depth to the watch and makes it feel like it was designed by someone who cares about the final product. And when it comes to the level of finishing itself, the actual quality of it, when you look under a macroscope or when you just look really close, this is also some of the best quality finishing I have seen in the price range, or anywhere near it, to be honest. And then you move on to the bracelet and it just keeps going. It's a modern 7-link take on a beads of rice bracelet, which is fully brushed except for tasteful chamfers on the side and underside. It catches light in all the right ways, but still stays subtle and doesn't jump out at you quite too much. It is super comfortable, it flows with the wrist effortlessly, and the way it picks up light makes my mouth water. I am being serious. This bracelet is more refined and better finished than some bracelets I've handled on $1,000 plus watches, and it's not really even close. Honestly, this already feels like the next level diver I have handled when it comes to the price range, but that's not even accounting for the next part, which was the real surprise, the real standout, and that's the clasp. Because this might be the first watch in the price range where I'd recommend it based on the clasp alone. We're talking fully milled with tight tolerances and a ridiculously good on-the-go micro adjustment system. It's easily the best I've used in this price, probably one of the best I've used full stop, and I've handled Rolex, Omega, Patek Philippe or Audemars Piguet. I've handled plenty of watches. If Zelos ever made this clasp for other brands, I'd honestly stick it on a Tudor or even an Omega, and that is not an exaggeration. I mean, let's compare it to Seiko in the same price range, right? Where you are getting the basic clasp with a basic pinhole system. I mean, to actually micro adjust this, which a lot of them don't even have, micro adjustments just in general, you need to take the watch off, get a spring bar tool, put it down the hole to get the pin out, which then makes the spring bar fly off into outer space. You have to find the spring bar, put it back in, adjust it, test it, realize that, okay, you're one or two off, so you have to redo it all over again, etc, etc. Half the time you scratch the watch, half the time the spring bar goes missing. It's just not good. But with this, you literally press the well-finished logo, slide your finger slightly to the left or right, and done. No tools, no stress, nothing. This clasp just feels like something that doesn't normally exist in this price range. I mean, to get a clasp of equal quality, you're generally paying a lot more, and I hope that brands seeing these micro adjustments that Zelos do are picking up notes, because a Seiko with this would be lovely. Now let's talk dial, because this is where the design language really sets in. We have a teal fume dial which is stamped with a texture, which then has enamel finishing over the top of it, which gives it a nice glossy look. This means that it shifts in different lighting because it is actually textured, you know, it goes down and up, etc. But it still looks sort of matte and flat at the same way because of the way it reflects light with the enameling. It's hard to explain, so I'll just show you. It's bold but not loud, bordering on statement piece yet versatile all in one. The hands and indices are also sharp and clean and filled with gorgeous BGW9 and C3 Superluminova, which is bright, legible and consistent as you can see. The inner rotating bezel is handled by the top crown, which is very smooth with no wobble. Now the dual crown layout might sound busy, but it wears well, better than what I expected, and it doesn't feel too overcomplicated. The dial stands out, but it doesn't scream. It's balanced and well thought through. And when it comes to Zelos, I would actually say this is a more reserved dial. In fact, there is one variation of this watch with a dial I am showing on screen now, which I personally just can't get behind because that's just a bit much. And if you think my content stands out, please do like and subscribe, because these videos take me a lot of time to make. I pour a lot of my heart, soul, a lot of passion and a lot of time and effort into making these the best they can be, and it really does help me out greatly at the cost of nothing to you. Moving on from that, spec-wise, this one ticks every single box, because inside you've got a Miyota 9015, which is 3.9mm thin, has a 4Hz sweep, a 42-hour power reserve, and is hacking. Not only this, but it even comes with a custom date wheel, which matches the colour of the dial, which is always a nice touch that a lot of bigger brands seem to forget about. The watch also has 200 meters of water resistance, a boxed sapphire crystal with amazing AR coating, and a 20mm lug width if you want to try it on strap. So the spec sheet is great, but to be honest, it's nothing we haven't seen before. A lot of micro brands have specs like this. It's just sort of the point of micro brands, being able to have good specs for a lower price. However, the main thing that we're talking about here is that finishing, because it is just done to an unforeseen standard at the price point. Oh, and one little bonus I haven't mentioned yet is that this thing actually comes with a pretty nice set of extras. You get a 3-slot travel case, which is compact but well padded. Honestly, it's not the absolute best made, but it's certainly not bad, and it's something I'd actually use instead of throwing in a drawer. And then there's the warranty card, which sounds like the most boring thing ever that you don't care about, but it's actually really cool, because it's this sort of pinkish orange laser engraved metal card that feels really premium in the hand. Like, it's the kind of thing you want to keep because it looks cool, or you feel like carrying on you to show off as if it's some sort of American Express high-end credit card. It just has that sort of feel to it. It is a very small touch, but stuff like this really sells the whole premium experience that they're going for and does bump up the value, at least for me. Of course though, nothing's perfect. No watch in any price point is perfect, especially at this price point. And for me, a few of the issues are the inner rotating bezel, which honestly is one of the main attractions to this watch, but for my type of collecting and the sort of watches I like, I'm not a fan. I think just a plain dial variant of this I would take 100% of the time. I think it just looks a lot cleaner, and I do think it adds visual busyness. I do think that it takes away from the overall design of the watch, although at the same time it does make it wear slightly smaller, which I do prefer, so bit of a love-hate relationship there going on. And also on top of that, the numerals at 12 and 6, not for me. Indices would have looked cleaner and tied the dial together better in my opinion. And I know these aren't major issues, but they stood out enough that I noticed and had to say. Still, for $450, this watch certainly is a next level competitor to any other sub $500 dive watch. Now, I just need to say a quick bit of context and a quick extra thing, and that is just the rate Zelos is improving is incredible. Some context for this is that I'm going to compare it to my Mako 300 meter GMT, another 40mm dive watch which was already considered one of the best affordable divers in the price range. And this new Helmsman 40mm, the Series 3 or SS, whatever they're calling it, it's slightly cheaper, it has even better finishing somehow, much better AR coating, an even better clasp with an even better micro adjustment system, and it's only come out, what, like a year after the one that I'm comparing it to, which was already considered one of the best? Again, I'll reinforce this, stack it up with any $400 to $500 watch, and generally this thing is going to beat them out. I honestly don't think that there's a better all-round diver right now, at least not one I could name off the top of my head. This isn't just good for the price anymore, right? This watch and Zelos as a brand is no longer just good value micro brands. That's not what it is anymore. There's a few brands which are sort of moving into value luxury. This Zelos is definitely one of them, and I would also say Venezianico and Christopher Ward's are two others, considering they both make in-house movements and such now. But yeah, when I said this watch shocked me at the beginning of the video, I wasn't exaggerating in the slightest. The finishing, the bracelet, the clasp, it's where other brands cut corners, but Zelos went the opposite way. It's got no hype, no fluff, it is just dead ass a really, really well made watch. And a quick mention, I don't want to sound like a shiller, right? I always ensure I have full creative control, freedom of rights and everything for the videos I make, so that I'm not biased and so that I can say anything negative if I have to. Because I love what I do. But even if you don't believe me, even if you think that I'm shilling this, even though I don't even have an affiliate link or anything, like this will be linked in the description, but I don't get any money for that. Or even if you just think that I'm overhyping it because of subconscious bias or anything, you've still got to admit, at the bare minimum, this watch is objectively great for the price. If you can get behind the design, if you like a daily or diver with high finishing and specs for low prices, I just couldn't recommend this enough. And with that, never forget, time keeps ticking, so use the time you have wisely.